Okay, come in, no one can against me, so come on. Of course, that is what you can have, that we are here, that I'm gonna make them much of that, girl. Of course, that is what you can have, that I'm here. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that I know how to move. That is what you can see, that no one can against me, so come on. Of course, what are you searching for? Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that I have everything. That is what you can see, of course, that is what you can have, that I'm here, brown, from black hair and blonde, of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that I'm a perfect horse, of course, that is what you can have, I'm a horse with pedigree, that is what you can see, so come on, of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that no one can against me, so come on, what are you gonna say? Of course, motherfuckers, I'm here. Of course, motherfuckers, I'm here with Woad films and things like those. Of course, motherfuckers, I'm here with my boy. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that no one can against me, that I'm here with my boy. Of course, the boy from Kaisarian. Of course, motherfuckers, I have the whole bills from God in Spain. Of course, in Kaisarian, you can see that. So come on, of course, motherfucker, that is what you can have, that I have the milk. Of course, I'm drinking a Baileys. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that I have the whole bills from the Spaniards, of course, from the Spanish god. I have the whole bills, of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have. You can see that in Kaisarian, I'm drinking a Baileys. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that no one can against me, so what are you gonna say? Of course, I'm the captain, I'm a pirate, of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have from me, so come on. Of course, motherfuckers, I'm a pirate, that is what you can have, that no one can against me, so come on, what are you gonna say? Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can see, that no one can against me. Of course, motherfuckers, that girl, of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that of course, motherfuckers, that if you wanna go to Rome, of course, motherfucker, better you don't try to make some Theodosian shit. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that no one can against me. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that you have to find her capital letters. Of course, you can see me in tourist refugee capital letters, you can see me there. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that I'm in my car and I'm gonna press the gas. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that no one can against me, so come on. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that no one can against me. And of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can see, that no one can against me, that I'm here in our capital letters. Of course, motherfuckers, that is what you can have, that there is no truth possible, motherfuckers. Of course, with our capital letters in tourist refugee and pressing the gas, you can see that there is no truth possible, motherfucker. Of course, that is what you can see, that your truth don't work for shit, motherfucker. That is what you can have, that you have to work at that. Of course, motherfucker, you can believe if you want, but don't stay there forever and for everyone. Of course, so if you go to Rome, don't make Theodosian shit, motherfucker. That is what you can have, that no one can against me. Of course, you wanna make some hell and then admit them. Of course, admit them if you want, but don't make them everyone. Of course, motherfucker, don't make a truce with their capital letters, because this truce don't serve for nothing, motherfucker. Of course, that is what you can have, that you have to respect everyone, motherfucker. Of course, and everyone is a Jew and he has to bury a friend and go back home to his wife. Of course, motherfucker, that is what you can have, so go on. Of course, motherfucker, that if you can admit them, you can make some hell and then admit every cult, of course. I'm believing that if you want, you can do that if you want, motherfucker. But don't bring me to Russian shit because they're capital letters. You know that they're capital letters. There is no truth possible. There's that truth don't serve for nothing with their capital letters or letter. Of course, motherfucker, that is what you can have. That I have the whole bits from the Spanish gods. I'm a pirate. You can see that Inca is Syrian, so come on. That is what you can have. What do you want? Of course, you want me to betray you, motherfucker. The only thing you're gonna get from me is that I'm not gonna give you a single sentence. That you're gonna bring your whole armies to ask me for money, and I'm gonna ignore that. That is what you can have. That is what you can have from me and from no one else. So go on. That is what you can have here. So go on. That's what you can see. I'm a pirate, of course, motherfuckers. I'm in the Caribbean, I'm in the center, of course, motherfuckers. That's what you can have. That I give it them, of course, motherfucker. That girl, you can see that in the truth for our capital letters and that shit. That truth don't serve for nothing, and you know that. So come on, so don't bring me Theodosian shit because I don't want none of Theodosian shit, motherfucker. That's what you can have. That is only bullshit. Of course, motherfucker, so come on. Of course, motherfucker, that is what you can say, that you can make some hell and if you want, but don't bring me with Theodosian shit because I don't believe in that. Of course, motherfucker, that is what you can have, that I'm a horse, of course, I'm from black hair and blonde, of course, motherfucker, I'm a perfect horse, of course, and the boy can have a horse if he wants, of course. That is what you can see. That no one can against me. So come on, of course, that if the boy wants a horse, he's gonna have a horse and no one is gonna say him he can't. So go on. That is what you can have, that no one can against me. So what are you gonna say? Of course, motherfucker, that is what you can say, that no one can against me. So take it and shut up. That is what you can have. Of course, motherfuckers, that I'm in Kaisarian drinking a Baileys, of course, making what they have to, that is what you can have, that I'm in Kaisarian drinking a Baileys and the Iron Hand and Who Kills with Iron and those movies, and I'm sure to ask, you know that, so come on. Of course, I'm drinking a Baileys there, that is what you can have, that is what you can see, that no one can against me. Of course, motherfucker, I'm a pirate. Of course, motherfucker, you want to make me ashes. Of course, motherfucker, that is what you can have, that I'm gonna put them back and you can shoot me with a gun if you want. Of course, that is what you can have, that you have all there. Of course, motherfucker, you think you're with the Corleone, motherfucker, in there and there. Of course, I'm gonna put them all back and you can shoot me with the gun if you want. I give it them. That is what you can have, that girl, motherfucker. That is what you can have, that no one can against me, so come on. And of course, and if the boy wants a horse, I'm gonna buy him a horse. Of course, motherfucker, that is what you can have, that no one can against me, so come on. Of course, and he can have everything he wants. Of course, motherfucker, and if the boy wants a horse, he's gonna have a horse because I say so. So come on. Of course, that is what you can have, so go on. What are you gonna say, motherfucker? Of course, motherfucker, I'm here like a pirate sailing, so go on. What are you gonna say for me? You can say nothing from me. That is what you can have, that I know how to move, that no one can against me, that I say what I want, and if you want to play with me, that is what you can have, that I'm gonna search for it, and I'm gonna say if I accept it or not. Of course, motherfucker, that I don't accept, that no one speaks for me if I don't give the proving. That is the proof, or however, that is what you can have, that no one can against me, so come on. Of course, motherfucker, I'm a savage pirate, so come on. That is what you can have, that no one can against me, so go on. That is what you can have, and we see each other. Of course, that is what you can have. Bye.